This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I would have been 1 year old when The Exorcist came out, but I have since seen it 5 times in the theater, including a couple of midnight screenings. And it was my first midnight screening here at the university, so fantastic. It was Halloween 1996. Well, I have one of the stars of the movie on the phone with me today, and hopefully she's already had her split pea soup.
You can say that, split pea soup.
Split pea soup. Messed that up. Folks, I have the wonderfully awesome Eileen Dietz on the phone with me today. Highly recommended by Nancy McLaughlin. Hello, Eileen.
Hello, Greg. And no, I haven't eaten green pea soup since we shot the movie. And between you and me, I never ate it before that anyway.
Well,
I don't like the texture. The texture's just weird.
Yeah.
But I do sell cans of Captain Howdy's green pea soup on my soon-to-be-finished website.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're cans, and they have a picture of Captain Howdy on the can in a bowl of soup.
Yeah, but you were Pazuzu, and a lot of people will say she might have got the Oscar nomination, but a lot of people consider that questionable. Like a lot of the demon possession scenes, people have come out and said that is you doing the voice.
And that's Mercedes McCambridge. So
yes.
You do the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to knock. I thought Linda Blair, was great in The Exorcist, but I agree she's made some questionable choices.
Yeah, and it's very ironical because Warner Brothers now, anytime they put something out about The Exorcist, they always use Captain Howdy or Pazuzu, like on the record album they finally released last year, and anything else they do, but they still refuse to acknowledge me. So, hey, what can you do, right? I have a career. I act all the time. It's just not doing as many conventions as I would like to.
Well, I hope that the folks at Horrorama in Toronto will reach out to you, because I just did my first convention a couple of years ago.
I don't know if they are. Do they know me?
They should. They
out to me?
I don't know whether they have or not. I did my.
No, I know they have not. I'm wondering if you can tell them to.
I can, yeah, absolutely, I can. It's run by Chris Alexander and Louis.
Chris Alexander. He used to work for Fangoria, didn't he?
Yep.
Well, I'll get in touch with him, and you get in touch with him. But,
sure.
I mean, we know each other pretty well. I'm surprised he's never asked me to come up there.
Well, I hope he does ask you. I would gladly go up and get you to sign my Exorcist Blu-rays. I think I got like 3 Exorcist Blu-rays right now, different versions of it. So
you can always mail them to me too, and I'll sign them and send them back.
Yeah. Well,
but no, I'm going to get in touch with Chris, and you get in touch with him. We'll see if we can make it happen.
You do a lot of the conventions, and I was wondering, what's the most unique, interesting thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Well, I know the most interesting, unique thing that I've been asked to sign that I won't sign.
Oh, okay.
Is this a G-rated? Is this an R-rated show or a G-rated show?
Oh, it's. I'll let people swear on here. I let people be themselves.
Keep asking me. Many people ask me to sign "Your Mother Sucks Cock in Hell."
Oh, okay.
And I've only done it once, and that was because it was like the first show. I think it was the first show I ever did, 100 years ago in New Jersey, And they asked me, I said, no, I can't do that. And they said, oh, come on. I said, no, I can't do that. And then I said, okay. They kept begging. I said, okay, I'll do it for $280. Because I thought they would never say yes. And they said yes.
Oh.
So I signed it. So that's the one and only time that I've ever signed it. I do sign Your Mother Sucks Socks in Hell.
Socks.
And I have done. I was at a show in New York, and this cupcake people gave me all these cupcakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed for them, of course. You know, Your Mother Sucks Cupcakes in Hell. So you can play with it, but I won't do cocks unless they pay me a small fortune.
Well, you know, I would never ask you to sign that anyway.
What they say? It's not about the morals or the ethics. It's only about the money.
Yeah.
And then I saw someone, I guess it was the person I signed it for, trying to sell it on eBay for $750. But it's still on there, so I guess they didn't get it.
Well, you know, I would have been, as I said earlier, 1 year old when The Exorcist came out, so that film now over 45 years old, nearing its 50th anniversary here soon. And what do you think of that after all these years? And it still is.
50 years. The movie came out in 73.
Mm-hmm.
So 50 years.
That'll be 2023. So it's already topped the 45. It's getting close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I think about what?
The phenomenon, the fact that it's stayed this long with people.
Well, I think, well, number one, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Number one, there was a group, there were many films, or several films that came out at the same time that are also classics. We're talking, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Halloween films, Friday the 13th. They all came out generally around the same time, or early 80s.
Yeah.
So, and they are long-staying. A couple times my friends and I sit around and we talk about what are the newest classics. And I guess Hellboy is in there and things like that. But, what are the new classics that are coming out? And Jaws, some people think the first one, maybe, stuff like that. And we're hard to come up with things like that. I mean, Saw, it just doesn't last. And everybody, of course, certainly every actor or actress in town would love to be in the next one. But it seems, I personally think one of the reasons is because studios and people like that simply will not give young filmmakers a chance. So, and of course they're doing the sequels and the reboots and stuff like that. But I think there's probably some great horror films out there. People could just get some traction.
Yeah.
And now people are shooting them themselves, but they're still not quite the same thing. I mean, I shot a short, which is the most exciting thing I've ever shot. But, who knows what's going to happen with that. She was the most evil woman I've ever played, Greg.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And believe it or not, it was actually a student film.
Okay.
And it was so good. When we had the festival, a little girl ran out of the theater. She was so scared.
Oh.
I mean, it's called Don't Go Down. And like one of the things in that, this person who I'm going to kill says, why do you kill people? And I say, because it's fun. I stick a knife in someone, I get such a rush. Anyway, it's one of the most fun films I've ever shot. But who knows what'll happen with that? It'll probably just go away.
Well, when The Exorcist came out, I've seen photos of the long lines around the block, and I've heard the stories about ambulances being on the scene, people fainting, and barf bags being given out. Could you relate to any of the stories at the time, what you've seen and at that time?
There's still a lot of illusions about about that. Do you want me to?
Sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's like when people say, did anything bad happen on the set? And I think they want me to say yes. But in truth, who knows? You know, I mean, you can take both sides of that discussion, right?
Yep.
Say, well, yeah. Or you can say, not really. You know, I mean, electrical fires happen, people die, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So are you sure you want me to debunk what you just said?
If you wish, if you've got something to share, you may.
Well, there was one reason they had lines around the block was because it was the first film that didn't let people in after the first screen. You know, when the screenings were on, they wouldn't let anybody into the theater. So they created those lines that way, people coming into the next screening.
Didn't Hitchcock do something like that with Psycho, where people couldn't come in after it started because people would?
Psycho came out later than The Exorcist.
No, Psycho came out in 1960.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was the first time, but so was the second time.
Okay.
But it certainly wasn't a usual practice. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So they created the lines, and the second thing is, who knows? But I've been told they hired people for the first few screenings to throw up and run out of the theater and stuff like that, which was a brilliant PR thing.
Okay.
And then after that, it just took on a life of its own, of course.
Well, I've seen The Exorcist 5 times in theater, and like I said, a couple.
Really?
Yeah, I seen the first time I seen a film at the university here. I saw The Exorcist, the original version of it, a couple of times. Halloween night screened here, and that was the first time I'd seen something screened at the university. And then when
what university do you work out of?
Oh, the station's at UMB, University of New Brunswick.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And anyway, when the extended version came out, I went a couple of times to that and watched it just destroy Urban Legend at the box office, which was cool. Or Urban Legend 2, whatever one was out. And then I saw it at a midnight screening, and I'm going to tell you, few things happened. Number one, people laughed at Linda Blair when she's like high as a kite in the doctor's office. And another thing too is when they go to inject the needle in her neck, I kind of looked over. I saw this couple sitting there down from me, and I just watched them because both the male and the female were sticking their hands up to their throat. And that was pretty cool. And of course,
medical scenes. I mean, they are medical. They're not horror.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty scary.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they're pretty hard to watch.
And of course, the spider walk scene got a bit of a shriek as well, which I'm glad they put that in there.
You know that was put in later.
Yeah, I do know. But
there was a huge argument between Bill Blatty. And by the way, I've just made really good friends with his son, Michael Blatty. And I was very good friends with Bill lately, like in the last 10 years before he passed. But anyway, there was a huge argument between Billy Friedkin and Bill Blatty whether to put that scene in there or not. And I can't remember which one wanted it in and which one did not.
I love that scene.
Next to Captain Howdy, people say it's like the three things that people say are the scariest images in the film, which you can probably attest to or not, was the flashing of Captain Howdy, the spider walk, and of course the spinning head.
Yes. Yeah, they were high.
Some people really think it's real. And who's going to say it's not? But no, that was a dummy. That was a life-size dummy. And by the way, this seems like a interesting place to put my pitch in. I wrote a book. It's called Exorcising My Demons. And the first part of the book is, well, the first part is about dreams and achieving your dreams, no matter what kind of negativity is around you, and just go for it. Because the whole world told me that I couldn't be an actress because I was too small, and I wasn't pretty enough, and I wasn't busty enough, and blah, 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 blah. But I never let it deter me. I didn't care. I just didn't tell anybody anymore. So it's about that, whether your dream is to be a actor or a director or own a wardrobe costume shop, or anything outside the business, or even if you just want to be a mom, you got to follow those dreams and don't let anything stop you. But anyway, after that, there's a section on all the funny, fun stuff and sad stuff and horrible stuff that I encountered on my way to being in the scariest movie of all time. I have some Me Too moments in there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't any young actress in New York or Los Angeles have a bunch of them? Particularly when I worked at the Summer Stock Theater, and I got my first union card, and he brought me all the way up from New York to Michigan just so he could do dirty things with me.
Yeah.
And I said no, so he sent me home. But the guy who wrote it just writes that up so beautifully. And anyway, so it's the good and the bad. It's what happened when I came out to Los Angeles. And then, that, like I said, Warner Brothers invited me, and then they didn't recognize me. But after that is everything you've ever wanted to know backstage about The Exorcist. And it's a real fun read. I stayed away from a lot of the things that people knew, and I just put in a lot of really funny stuff, like how they shot the masturbation scene, which is hysterical, with Billy Freakin', and the screen test and how I got the part and stuff like that. So it's a great Mother's Day gift.
Yes, exercising my demons.
Yeah, just go to Facebook and send me a personal message or a DM and tell you want the book, and we'll get it out right away.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
And I'll give anybody the information about how much it costs. Obviously, sending to Canada is a little more expensive, but not as bad as sending it to Europe. And it's a great read for anybody. My nephew read it in like a day. He said, I never read anything that fast. So everybody's been inspired by it, and it's a real fun book.
Yes, of course, Dick Smith did the makeup effects on that. Really, really impressive. And what were your memories of working with him?
Oh, Dick and I also became really good friends. And I saw him. We had lunch together. I had some photos that are signed from him that are probably for sale now. I needed to wait, a decent interval. So I didn't think I was making money off the dead or something like that. He's the most amazing man. He's among the most amazing people I have ever met. And just stories after stories. I mean, he worked with Marlon Brando. He worked with Dustin Hoffman. He was just an amazing man. And I talk about that in my book, too. I went up to his studio, which was right outside of New York City. And his studio just had busts, like of all these famous people. And, he was an amazing man. And I miss him.
Yes. Well, I know William...
As far as I'm concerned, I do have a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
That The Exorcist, besides the screenplay, of course, because you can't make a movie without a screenplay, which is what I think most of the problems are with horror films today. So, of course, it's the screenplay. God said first there was the word, and I agree with that. But after that, I think the whole film was made in the editing, the makeup by Dick Smith, and the special effects by a man named Marcel, and probably the cameraman, who was Owen Rosman. That's what really created that film.
Yes, absolutely. Well, William Friedkin had...
the editing, which is the same thing with French Connection.
Yes.
And I still think Billy Friedkin's biggest talent was hiring, or maybe David Marshall, David Slavin,
Mm-hmm.
The production guy, by hiring the very best people around, like the best editors.
Yeah, how long did you do that shoot with The Exorcist? Was you on there for a long time?
The whole shoot was 14 months, which was absolutely incredible. I mean, nothing then or now shoots for 14 months. You know, the sound and cry from, and this is all in the book too,
Mm-hmm.
where the office people, you know, they like to move on. They like to be somewhere 3 months and then move on to the next job.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like, who do you have to fuck to get out of here?
Yeah.
And the actors too, because there was a very sad story about Kitty Wynn, who played the secretary,
Yeah.
assistant, and I think that's why she stopped acting. I don't know, but she was asked to do the Glass Menagerie with Katharine Hepburn in England, in London, and they wouldn't let her off the set. And the people who were shooting Menagerie said, well, listen, we'll do all our rehearsal in New York, and then we'll simply, you know, shoot it in the UK. And they said no to that, too. So they wouldn't let her do it. I was offered a Broadway play.
Mm-hmm.
It was written by the guy who wrote West Side Story, and they wouldn't let me do that either.
You brought up Kitty Wynn, and you know you don't hear her get brought up very often. And
they also cut after not allowing her to go to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
They also cut 3/4 of what she did. The whole spiritual angle that's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, there were 3 angles in the film, which you probably know. There was the spiritual angle.
Mm-hmm.
There was the medical angle that perhaps she was just crazy, and then there was the demonic angle. And all 3 of them are very much emphasized in the book. Talking about books, you guys can find it, and you're really Exorcist fans, you should buy it.
Yeah.
I have copies signed by Bill Blatty, but you know, you really should buy it because in some ways it is the book. In some ways, it's very different, particularly the ending.
Yes.
So those are the 3 things that I was sitting on the bed when I heard Billy Freakin say to somebody, you know, oh, cut that. We're just going to go to the horror stuff. I think it was somewhere around when we were shooting the vomit scene.
Okay.
So there's a lot in the book that's not in the film. They could have made a 3-hour film like they just did with the Avengers.
Yeah. Yep. Well, vomit scene. Jason Miller, of course, his father, Karras. Do you remember what his reaction was to the vomit scene?
Well, you were laughing and I couldn't.
Do you remember what his reaction was when
he
she
hated it. He hated it. The vomit scene?
Yeah.
No one told him what was going to happen, and he was totally unprepared for it because Billy freaking loved to do tricks like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly, it's a long time ago. We didn't do many takes because you had to change the nightgown.
Yep.
Also, I don't think it was because of me, but I couldn't talk, I couldn't smoke, and I smoked cigarettes then, unfortunately. I couldn't talk, I couldn't smoke, and I couldn't eat. Because the appliance they use an appliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a bit.
Yep.
Like a horse's bit.
Yep.
The tubes went under the makeup, and they simply pumped it out with the proper emotion, I guess. So he didn't know what was going on. And everything you see in that moment is real.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing like we all know about slapping the homeless guy, and they actually shot a gun off in one of the scenes so the people would feel scared.
Yep.
And startled.
Yep.
But by the 5th take, it didn't work anymore. Like, oh, what's that? You know, these are all the tidbits you're going to find out if you buy my book.
We got to buy your book. But I gotta say, I loved what they did with the Karras character, because you have the relationship between him and his mom, and there's conflict there, and you get the relationship between him and Father Dyer. I love that little backstory there to make the, because today, if they make it, they'd probably leave that stuff out. Back then, I think it really added to that character and made him much more sympathetic and more relatable.
I agree. I mean, they changed the ending too.
Yep.
For that same kind of reason, they made it a much more warmer and gentle ending.
Yes, absolutely.
They go off to the movies together.
Yeah, which ending?
I got to meet.
Which ending do you prefer? I'll be.
Asking which version I prefer. I really don't have a preference. I think, except we were laughing. We always laugh about, smoking cigarettes in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like when they just showed Captain Howdy once.
Yeah.
Which is in the original. I thought it was scarier, but other people don't. So I can't really. How do you feel? Which one do you like better?
Oh, I like both versions, but in terms of the endings, I like the original ending better, where it just shows Father Dyer looking down that stairwell there, and then he just kind of, you see him walk off and the music kind of fades him out. I think that was the perfect way to go,
Actually, I would tend to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny that a lot of times people will Facebook me and go, hey, guess where I am? Or friends of mine actually call me. Guess where I am? Where? I'm on the Exorcist steps.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? I don't really know what to say next. That's wonderful. Have a good time. And, of course, the Exorcist steps are nowhere near the house. A totally different location.
Yeah, I heard.
I believe they made it an historical, what do they call them? Not a monument, but, something like that where they can't take it away.
Mm-hmm.
It's an historical something. I live in an old monastery in Hollywood,
mm-hmm.
and I think they're going to make that into an historic thing because it's been here since the 20s.
Yeah.
And rather appropriate that I live in a monastery, don't you think?
Sure. Well, The Exorcist had a great cast in it, Jason Miller, Max von Sydow, still, he looked old back then. He's still working strong. That guy just keeps trucking, I mean.
No, he grew into his makeup. He really did.
Yeah.
And, of course, talking about Dick Smith again. I mean, Dick Smith's just a genius. He could do anything. And to you guys out there, someone he had a school for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess at first it was mail order, but now it's on the internet. And they're still running that school in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So you people that you might want to get into makeup and do stuff like that, it's not a bad idea to do that. And I think Tom Savini is one of the co-owners. And then there's another man who's just really taken it over.
Yes.
But, of course. I mean, Dick Smith is the genius. Without that makeup, and just so your listeners can hear something else, or you might know, they went from an extreme makeup for Pazuzu.
Yeah.
That had bushy eyebrows and funny teeth, and we stayed with the teeth, but bushy eyebrows and teeth and eyes, and I mean, it was just horrific. But you couldn't relate to it. And the beauty of The Exorcist, and one of the reasons I believe what's true, that it's been so incredibly successful through the years, is because of that. It wasn't so monstrous that you say, oh, that couldn't happen. No, that's silly. And take you out of it. It was real enough with just all the scars and stuff
mm-hmm.
that parents were afraid they were going to walk into a room and see their kids transformed like that. And then kids were afraid that they were going to go to sleep and wake up like that. So that's what totally one of the geniuses of the film, that he made Pazuzu really approachable and really identifiable. And don't you agree?
Yes.
That made it scary. I mean, he had a long nose and, this, that, and the other thing. Then you would be able to say, well, that couldn't happen to me. Nobody's going to look like that. But it could very well happen to your kid or to yourself.
Yes. I was wondering if you can relate any stories about Ellen Burstyn and Max von Sydow and Jason Miller and Lee J. Cobb, people like...
I love Lee J. Cobb.
Yeah.
Because they took me all the way to Washington. By the way, you asked me a question before. I was on that film almost 4 months, but that's because they destroyed the living room set, and they had to rebuild it, and that took 3 or 4 weeks, and they reshot just about every scene.
Mm-hmm.
That something would go wrong with the shooting or something like that, or Owen Rosman, the cameraman, would say, that's not going to work, and Friedkin said, let's do it anyway. I want to see, and then they see it didn't work. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, I don't know a lot of stories about them, really. Nobody in the film was really close to anybody.
Well, Lee J. Cobb did have a nice little role as a detective. He was really...
Anyway, so they brought me all the way. I wasn't supposed to work until like January, February. And I think it was November. I might have the months wrong, so sue me. But they took me all the way to Washington, D.C. They flew me all the way to Washington, D.C. from New York City just to walk across the window. And that's when I got to ride in a limo with Lee J. Cobb.
Ah, nice.
And you have to understand, I was very young at the time, so, I've done a lot of work before The Exorcist, which nobody thinks I did, but I did. But I was still very young, so everything was fabulous. The Jason Miller story really is, Roy Scheider was all set to do that part, and he was just about to sign the dotted line. I mean, really, the dotted line. And Billy Friedkin went to see Jason Miller's play.
Okay.
It was called The Championship Season. Because Jason was really a playwright. And they went to Joe Allen's, which was one of the famous actors' hangouts in New York. And Jason Miller was Father Karras, that same kind of broody, dark kind of depression stuff.
Yep.
And Billy Friedkin looked at him and said, that's my Father Karras. And they dumped Roy Scheider. There you be.
And, of course, this was the last film.
That's my Jason Miller story. And my Ellen Burstyn story, which everybody always knows, that on the scene, which is one of my actual, well, a scene you see a lot, when I'm on the bed and her name just went out of my head when we were just talking about it. But the doctor and Ellen Burstyn and Kitty Wynn all come barging in the door. See what's going on. And, I do something. And then the demon thing happens with the whole room shaking, and Ellen is dragged across the room with a rope that you can't see. Well, apparently she destroyed her back.
Is that the scene where the dresser almost comes at her there, and then the head turns around? Yeah.
That's also the scene where they, wait a minute. I think that's the scene where they shoot off the gun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there was another scene the first time they see The Exorcist. I'm giving all these secrets away. That he decided they were going to bring on set a mixture of rotten meat and sulfur from eggs and all that kind of stuff. And apparently, I wasn't there, but apparently it was so bad that, it was supposed to have the actors smell the demon that just smelled horribly. But it was so bad that half the crew got sick and they had to stop shooting.
This was also the last film for Jack McGowan.
That's true, too.
Yep. Did
That's
you...
why they call it The Curse of the Exorcist, but
Did you meet him on that
No, I
set?
never did.
No. Yeah, he had a funny comedic supporting role in that film, especially at the party where he's just causing trouble while he's intoxicated.
Oh, I agree, and it's really the only until the end. It's the only, like little kids. A lot of times they see the movie at 10.
Yeah.
There's a bunch. That wasn't scary. Nobody died. Nobody got killed. There's no blood. There's no limbs being torn apart. But he did go out the window, and they thought Reagan did it.
Yep.
In the book, there's a huge contention that maybe she wasn't possessed, that maybe it was all medical, and she was just very schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, obviously, they chose to have the demon possess Jason Miller, and they go out the window together.
Yes. And of course...
I told all the secrets.
Well, of course, you obviously didn't go on to do The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and some people probably say you're better off for it.
I'm sorry, say it again?
You didn't go on to do The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and some people would probably say you were better off for it, huh?
No, I was actually in New York, and they actually hired 3 different women to play that part, and they fired them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided they would just buy my film and put it in the Heretic.
Yeah.
So all the demonic scenes that you do see in there are my film that they bought from the original film. I met somebody a couple weeks ago who really liked that movie. That was the only one I ever met that liked that movie. But Exorcist 3, which should never be called Exorcist 3, because it has nothing to do with possession or any of that, is a very fine film. And that's Bill Blatty's film.
Yes.
And what's the other name of it? It's Exorcist of the Dominion.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think, because they called it Exorcist 3 and had nothing to do with exorcisms, that really failed at the box office.
Yes.
But have you ever seen it?
I have a long time ago, yes.
Well, you can probably get it in one of the bins at Walmart.
Yeah.
Or the smaller bins that they have. I think they have it at no, I can't remember. But I think they have it at Best Buy. I think Best Buy has a bin, and you can usually find it for $1.
You like doing...
God is in it.
Yeah. You like doing horror films, I take it, huh?
Well, it's also what people ask me to do.
Did you grow up liking horror films, or did...
Typecast, that's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're right. I love doing them. I just did a film called... it's called The Ascent, by a wonderful filmmaker named Perry Teo, who did another film called, based on Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
Bruce Davidson in it, which is fabulous. And I did another film with him called Pale Horse. They never got released. So I did that, and then I did a film called Clownado by an incredible filmmaker named Todd Sheets. And
that's got Linnea Quigley in it. I met her at Horrorama last year.
who?
Linnea Quigley.
Oh, yeah, Linnea's in it. It's getting incredible reviews. It's really a real grunge film with, meaning there is sex, but it's not gratuitous, and humor and horror and stuff like that. It's an amazing film. If you're looking for people to be on the show, you should get in touch with Todd Sheets. He also did another film called Bone Hill Road, which is about werewolves.
Okay.
And all his effects are practical. There's no CGI in them.
That's the best way.
I'd love to give you his information if you would like to talk to him.
Sure.
He's a great guy. He does all this himself, and on Bone Hill, he got this incredible order for, it's on the shelves at Walmart, and obviously it's on Amazon and all these places, and you don't see many independent horror films on the shelves at Walmart. So, yeah, and he's a great guy to talk to, and he does it all himself, and He's just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you his information, and you can do what you will with it.
Yeah, please send it to me on Facebook. I definitely like to reach out.
Well, I don't know if Perry Teo does interviews, but I'll find out because he would be a great guest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Clownado.
Those are the films that I've shot.
Yeah, Clownado. I saw the trailer for that, and I think Linnea said something about being in that when she did a panel at Horrorama, and you know, they had Sharknado, and now everything's in a tornado. Now they get Clownado. You want to talk about a little bit about the plot to this movie and what your role is?
Oh, well, unfortunately, I told Todd, because they shot it in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I live in L.A., and the budget is just a micro budget. In fact, they shot it non-union, but you can bring in one union person on the non-union shoot.
Okay.
But so they paid me, and I'm sure they paid Linnea. But I wanted to be a clown, but they couldn't afford to keep me in KC that long. So I had a really, really small part that's even smaller because I told Todd, you know, that he said, "What's a nice cameo?" I said, "Todd, it's not a cameo, it's a cam." It's that quick. It really is that quick. We went to a screening, my husband and I, and we went, whoop. But I can still promote the film because it's a great film. And it's basically killer clowns. It's strange enough, after we did Clownado, every time you turn around, someone's doing a clown movie.
Yes.
But that it's and it's about these 4 people. One's an Elvis impersonator, one's a young girl, one's a farmer, and they become tornado chasers because they're chasing down the clowns before the clowns catch them.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool to see you be a clown. You could be a good
Me
Dumet.
too, but I would have had to, they shot on low-budget films a lot. They shot mostly on weekends, and when they could get everybody together. So their shoot probably lasts a couple months, and they couldn't keep bringing me back and forth from L.A., and they couldn't afford to keep me that long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how it goes. But it would have been really fun. They have some female clowns in there. But it's a real fun film, and it's getting great reviews, and it's winning awards. And I'm just maybe the next one he does, maybe I'll get a bigger part. I think he's working on the next one already.
Another Clownado?
Yeah, no. So he'll go do some. He did Bone Hill about werewolves. He did Clownado about clowns, and who knows what the next one's going to be.
An exorcism.
Yeah, right. Well, when I did the film about possession, exorcism, called The Ascent, we chose. I have nothing to do with the exorcist part of it. I just run a huge garage.
Okay.
An auto repair place. It's a fun role. That she smokes all the time, so you can imagine. Talking about cigarettes again, you can imagine what kind of character she is. That always has a cigarette hanging out of her mouth.
And
so I think that film's going to do really well.
Yes, well, hopefully, yeah. Clownado.
It's funny just telling people the title.
Yeah. Well, you were.
And Todd puts it all up there. Not a $2 million film. It's just all up there.
Yes.
And then other films I've shot, they're just never going to come out. So you just shoot them and forget about them, and hopefully they might show up at a festival. They might not. I don't really. I had such an amazing year last year, Greg, that I can't even remember the names.
Well, I've looked on IMDb, and you got several movies. Yeah.
I don't think they're on IMDb. 2 of them I shot because I don't know why they're not there, but I don't think they're there.
Yeah.
And I keep lousy records.
Yeah.
Then you get a check, for the IRS from a payroll service, but they don't specify the name of the film that you got paid from.
No.
I mean, there must be a way to find out.
I wouldn't know.
But yeah, some of them were fun.
You worked with
What was it called? Possession Diary.
okay.
But the other one where I played psychic, I really can't remember the name of that one.
You worked
Seeing them.
You worked with Rob Zombie, Halloween 2, his version of Halloween 2. What was he like to work with?
Everybody who's ever worked with him loves him. Everybody. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about it. And it was raining. We went to Atlanta to shoot it, and it was raining, and there was mud everywhere. I played a character outside of Haddonfield, and there was just mud everywhere, and rain. And he was still always positive, always nice, always terrific to work with. Everybody who's ever worked with him really likes him. Did you see the film?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Unfortunately, they cut me, and you have to watch the deleted scenes.
Yes, and
Rob always does that. I know somebody who worked for Rob 3 times and got deleted all 3 times.
Oh, gee.
I don't know if it was personal or what.
Well, it wasn't Sherry Moon.
Yeah, well, Sherry's in every movie. Listen, the best work I ever saw Sherry Moon do, I thought, was in. Can you help me with the name? Salem something?
Oh, Lords of Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she was really good. I mean, I loved half that film. I thought it kind of got away from him in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And the last scene's just nuts. But I really liked the Up There. It had a really good story, I thought, and I thought she was very good in it. I didn't see 31.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah, I understand it's fairly misogynist, but I don't know.
Well, you got a film on here called Witchella, and
that hasn't never happened yet.
Yeah, I know. I just interviewed Marilyn Gigliotti from the movie Clerks.
Oh, Marilyn. Yeah, she's supposed to be in it too.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce her name either.
Yeah.
No, I love Marilyn very well.
Yeah, I love Marilyn, and just had her on just last week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, for the 25th anniversary of Clerks. She's a lovely person, yes.
Yeah, we all got together and talked about Witchella. There's a man named Pat, who's a good friend of mine. I can't pronounce his last name either. Starts with a K. And he's one of the producers on it. So I think they took the film away from the guy who was supposed to direct it, and I think they're still working. Is that what she said? Or did she say she had no idea?
I think she just kind of lost on when that thing's coming out or when it's going to be done. And
yeah, well, they attached a lot of really good talent to it.
Well, Dee Wallace has been on my show, and I met her at Horrorama last year. Oh,
I've known Dee forever.
I love Dee.
He introduced me to my manager.
Mm-hmm.
And Dee and I think Kane Hodder's attached to it.
Kane Hodder, Tyler Main.
Yeah. So we'll see if it ever happens. There's a whole slew. I think there's 3 or 4 films on IMDb that I'm attached to that, are in pre-none production. I mean, all these people are trying to get money. I was supposed to shoot 3 films in April, and none of them worked out. So, like my manager says, you can't get excited about it until you're on the airplane.
No.
Not even when you sign the contract. When you're on the airplane.
Yep.
Then, well, actually, it should be when you put your foot on the set.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, meanwhile, I've done 3 films with Malcolm McDowell, which only once in the same scene. That was Kids versus Monsters. That went right to DVD.
Yeah.
That was the case where the script was so much better than the film, and that happens.
Yep.
And I did another film that's been getting rave reviews called Abnormal Attraction.
Okay.
And that's a comedy horror.
Oh, those are fun.
They're just getting, and the guys who shot that, you could interview them too if you want. But the main guy, Michael Levy, and there are 3 of his brothers, and there are 2 of his brothers, whatever it is. It's called Fuzz on the Lens. And that's for their production company. And not only do they shoot films, but they shoot other people's films. And Michael's is great. He's just got this, he lives on Staten Island, and he's just got this really great, positive, funny attitude about life.
Well, Leslie Easterbrook is in that, too.
Those are 3 people I could send your way if you're interested in having them.
Okay. Yeah,
They're not classics, obviously, but they are all award winners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Leslie Easterbrook's in this. Gilbert Godfrey is Pigman.
Gilbert Godfrey's in that.
Yep. Ron Jeremy. What's that?
He's in the Abnormal Attraction.
Yeah. Some people say he's an abnormal attraction. That's what we. Oh, gee, Leslie Donaldson's in that. I've had her on here twice.
Oh, she lives in Toronto now, doesn't she?
Yeah, I met her at Horrorama, and the first year I met, but she's been on my show a couple times. Actually, Leslie was talking about this film. I didn't know this was a horror comedy.
She's never seen the film, but I went to New York to watch it, and she's in one scene in a therapy office because Abnormal Attraction is about the monsters. There are monsters and there are human beings, and they go into all this kind of racial stuff with it.
Okay.
The fear of people who are different than you and stuff like that. So Abnormal Attraction is a therapy group where they're trying to work on people's attractions to the monsters and trying to rid them of it. It's, be kind of like AA for monsters or actors. They have to rid their attraction. And Leslie is wonderful in it,
Yeah.
She hasn't got that much to do, but she's fabulous in it.
You got 3 other films I want to touch on. You, of course, Constantine with Keanu Reeves. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I got cut from that, too. It has nothing to do with talent or anything. The reason that happened was I play a zombie in it. And they shot it. It was all photographs. He just taking photos, and then was going to put them in the film. And it was for the opening credits. And then they decided not to use opening credits.
Well, I know he chain smoked all through it. Keanu Reeves did. It kind of annoyed me.
Oh, well, he's one of the nicest people in the world, too.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
And I like his acting. People are always putting down his acting, but I liked his acting.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, in other films, I don't mean Constantine. I don't know what people are screaming about. I think he's done such wonderful films.
Yeah.
But Keanu is just, I had so much fun because I played the zombie. And I have great makeup. I mean, they did such incredible makeup on that movie. But I used to, when the camera was on him and not on me, I used to try and make him laugh. I've been very lucky. I've worked with some incredible directors. I worked with Tony Perkins, for heaven's sakes, in a play I did off Broadway.
Oh wow, what was he like?
Tony Perkins. I've worked with, besides Billy Freakin, I worked with Rob Zombie. And I've just been really lucky. I was talking about this with my manager the other day. I did obviously the scariest movie ever shot.
Yep.
I did the most popular soap opera there ever was in General Hospital. And I worked in the second most popular movie of the week ever, which was Helter, Skelter.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Talk about working on that.
I loved it. I loved working on that. And I don't know, a lot of people disagree with me and stuff like that, but I just have this incredible sorrow for those girls, because if they had just walked to the left instead of walking to the right, they never would have met him. Helter Skelter was just really fun because really felt like you were there. you really felt like you were part of the Manson gang. And Steve Railsback kept in he played Manson, and he kept in character all through it, whether he was shooting or not. So you really felt we were shooting one of the scenes on the railroad track,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a full moon. It was Halloween, and we were singing songs he had written. And I can tell you, I felt like it was real. You know, they were there. And then another scene we shot in front of the courthouse, and I had a bald head, and I actually have the last shot in the movie. But people actually just started yelling at us and booing us and carrying on. The camera had moved to shoot another place,
Mm-hmm.
and they thought we were real, and they didn't like us.
Oh, wow.
So I love you know, Greg, I love shooting just about everything I've ever shot. I just like working.
Well, you got a lot of stuff.
I'll tell you stories about. I mean, I love being on General Hospital. I played a character in a mental hospital that everybody related to, and a lot of kids related to it. And they send in fan letters, and you know. And I didn't wear a lot of makeup, like the whole Linda Blair, the whole Reagan thing.
Mm-hmm.
I refused to let them do soap opera makeup on me, so a lot of people could relate to the character.
Talk about Creepshow 3.
God. Did you ever see it?
I have not, no, but I know it's a popular franchise.
No.
Oh, it was bad, huh? It was bad, huh?
Horrendous.
Okay, what about the...
that was another one where the script is really good. There was a collection of all the creep shows, collection of who knows how many, 4 or 5 short films.
Yeah.
It just didn't work.
What about the Clownado horrors that you did with Peter Graves?
Oh, that was fun. I have a story about that too.
Sure.
Producers. The movie is really good, and it was way ahead of its time, and it has a real cult feeling, following to it. That's like one of the, they clone people.
Okay.
And I cloned one of the people that was ready to be cloned, but we don't know what's going on. But the lead was horrible, and and I knew the producers. I didn't know them well, but I knew them. And she was too old for the part, and she couldn't act. And I said to them, I guess I was very shy then, that I didn't go up to them and say, "What are you doing? Why did you cast her?" And I said, "Why did you cast me in this film?" And they said, "Oh, we didn't think about it. You know, it's kind of like not seeing the forest for the trees."
Mm-hmm.
I was just there. So, but it's a fun film. It still holds up besides her. And they have talent in it. They have a theater down here called the Beverly Cinema, and they show old classics. They won't show anything digital. They'll only show film.
Okay.
And, why is this happening to me? Oh, come on. Reservoir Dogs. Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino, okay.
I get it, yeah. He owns a theater now, and he won't bring in anything that's digital. But, they had a screening of that there, which was really kind of fun. Another story about that is when they did the film The Island, which is a huge studio production.
Yeah.
They copied it practically word from word. And so it's one of the few times that the people with the Clonus horror sued the people who did The Island, and they won.
Okay.
So that was a good story, but it's a fun film to see.
You're listed as uncredited on an awful lot of stuff. Does that must bother you to some degree, right?
Well, not a lot.
Okay.
I think I'm uncredited on The Exorcist, which when I was hired to do the show, they told me they thought it would be scarier if everybody thought Linda did all that work, that a 12-year-old did all that work, and who knew? You know, it was The Exorcist. They were, you know, who knew that film was going to be a classic? And my agent said, go ahead and do it, because you're always afraid if you say no, they'll hire someone else, right?
Yeah.
And halfway through the shooting, because they really only hired me to do the masturbation scene.
Okay.
And then when they found out what a fabulous actor I am, like I said, I was in the film for almost 4 months, so I started doing all this work, and it occurred to me that maybe I should get credit. And I don't know where my agents were. They thought it was some kind of a joke. But I was afraid to say anything because I thought that if I stood up for myself that they might let me go from the film, so I didn't say anything. So that's why I'm uncredited.
Yes.
And that, by the way, is really why I believe The Exorcist didn't win any Oscars, because there were 6 of us that actually played that part of Reagan. If you count the lighting double, the stunt double, the girl who did the spider walk, Mercedes McCambridge who did the voice, and Linda and me. There were actually 6 people. And the magic of that movie is that they were able to put them all in as one person, and nobody knew. So I think when Oscar time came, and everybody in Hollywood knew that Linda didn't do those scenes, and they didn't like the wool being pulled over their eyes, and Gilbert Case, who is the president of the Oscar, the Academy of Motion Picture Artists, he said if The Exorcist won for the best horror film, he'd step down. Seriously. But the thing was, I think, and nobody in the Midwest cares, you know, who did what, for instance. They don't even stay for the credits, probably. So who cared if Linda did it or didn't do it and stuff like that? So it's just my contention that if they had come out and said, this is movie magic, we were able to use 6 people for the one part, that they would have won some of those Oscars.
Says you're uncredited for Halloween 2.
Oh, yeah. They cut me.
Yeah. Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
I got a residual for that for $1.70.
Yeah.
I mean, besides being cut, it's a very, very funny scene. And it opened the movie, and I do this scene with SpongeBob, who plays the sheriff. And it's a very funny scene. And I see Michael Myers going through my garbage, and I call the cops and said, this big hairy person going through my garbage, and they just make fun of me, and I'm this really sweet lady. And I said, but they're going through my garbage. They go, oh, it's probably, probably Bigfoot. No, it's not Bigfoot. Oh, well, it's probably, like a rabbit. And I look at him and I go, it ain't no fucking rabbit. She's not this sweet little lady anymore. She's really mad. And they said, oh, I'm sorry. He left. So that's basically what it is. When he shot it, he came around and he killed me. But that's not even in the deleted scenes. It's very funny because he's so big. And he just picked me up and threw me on the floor. So, again, like with Linda, it's the money.
Yeah.
Because I don't get the residuals I should have gotten. Well, what did you think of the movie?
Halloween 2? I thought it was interesting that he went a different route rather than remake Halloween 2. He only had the first part of the movie take place in the hospital in reference to the original movie. And then he went in another direction. I never quite, and I've heard this by so many people, never quite got the white horse thing that was going on in that, but...
Oh, I know.
I mean, I like Sherry Moon Zombie, but I don't know, and I got nothing against Rob Zombie, but I think...
God, it's so dark.
I think John Carpenter's Halloween was so much better,
Oh, God, yeah. No,
Yeah.
Halloween 2 is so dark.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Margot Kidder.
Yep.
She looks awful in that movie because of the lighting and the way they shot it.
Yeah.
She looks terrible. And the whole thing is dark.
Well, here's a heavy layered question for you. What's your greatest experience on a film set in your career, and what's the worst?
Yikes.
Yeah, pretty loaded question, but...
Yeah. Well, I think that the worst was this. It's not a big deal, but this worst was this really indie film called Pale Horse.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Exorcism. Exorcism turned out to be so funny. I mean, it was hysterical, and the guy who does the lead in it, I think he was on the Brady Bunch.
Okay.
And we went to the director, who is a huge kind of evangelicist, conservative Republican. Whenever you walked into his office, they shot that in the 80s. And whenever you walked into his office, he had Reagan on TV, which means he would have had Trump on TV. God forbid. And it's really funny. We told him he should make it into a comedy, but he didn't. And so what we did in the makeup room, somebody would come and say, what's the ETA in the shoot? And they go, give us 15, 20 minutes. And then they come back and they'd say, okay, you ready? Nah, we need another 15 minutes. Because it was the only thing anybody could do. And they wanted me to wear this absolutely ridiculous wardrobe. And I really try not to complain about anything on the set, also because the crew people, I figure, are working really, really hard, right? But
Yep.
This was absurd. It was a skin-tight, white thing that went from neck to floor, and with some kind of and this was supposed to be an evil nurse.
Okay.
The headpiece was like people wearing joust things, and like a cone with stuff coming out of it. So it's one of the few times in my life I said, I'm not wearing that. Sorry, bye. And so the thing I ended up wearing was too tight, and I didn't realize it was too tight and see me walking away.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was rough. And I don't seem to remember it being a whole lot of fun. And Pale Horse was, I met some great people from it, so I don't really have anything bad to say about it. It's never come out, though.
What was your greatest experience on a film set?
My greatest?
Yep.
That's really hard, because
Mm-hmm.
like what I said to you is that I just love all these films that I worked on. I loved doing General Hospital. It was such a joy to just come to work and play this character, because she was in a mental hospital, and she was in a mental hospital because she felt she had killed her best friend in a boating accident. So she decided if she didn't grow up, then she didn't have to take responsibility for anything. And I carried a doll around with me, and then the doll had a gun in its head. And then General Hospital became, to this day, the most watched soap opera ever in the country. Everybody was watching it. People in universities were actually getting their classes around when General Hospital was on, because we didn't have DVRs then. I think we had, we must have had VCRs, because that's when I bought my first VCR machine, when I got cast in it. But people had lunch hours at work that were all around whenever General Hospital was on. It was an incredible phenomenon. And I loved doing it. And at that time, you didn't charge for your autograph. And so you couldn't go in. It was so popular, Greg, that you couldn't go anywhere. You could walk down Beverly Hills Drive or Fifth Avenue or stuff like that. But any other place, you couldn't walk because people would just recognize you. So I love that character, and that was really fun. And like I said, people were really related. I get in the makeup chair, and I said, all I want is some foundation, some blush on, and, some concealer. That's it. And the makeup people loved me because I didn't have to work that hard. So, yeah, I think all in all, that was my favorite experience.
Well, what projects do you got coming up here in the future that you're allowed to talk about?
None.
None?
None that I want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
I just don't want to talk about them until I know they have the money and I know they're financed.
Well, your book, I forgot the name of your book.
Exorcising My Demons.
Exorcising My Demons. How long did it take you to write that?
I didn't write it, actually. A guy named Dan Louvier wrote it, and I talked it to him.
Okay.
And he was in Connecticut, so we did it by phone. It took about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
But just for your viewers again, and then I really have to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a web page that's being created as we now speak.
Okay.
I lost my old one, so that should be up in a month.
All right.
And besides my book, I saw these amazing Pazuzu statues.
Okay.
They're fabulous. And a Pazuzu head, and of course scripts and DVDs. Not only from The Exorcist, but from other films like Planet of the Apes. That was a fun show. That was the first show I ever did in L.A. And
Okay, yep.
when I worked with Roddy McDowell.
Oh, Roddy, yep.
You know, so, I mean, I've also worked, with great people besides Malcolm and Roddy and people like that. And I've actually worked with Roddy Piper.
I love Roddy Piper.
Oh, he was so wonderful.
I had his son and daughter on here in tribute to him a couple of years ago, and his daughter's been back on since because she has a music career as well.
Oh, he was great, and he died too young. And but there was a movie called St. John Smith, and that never came out either. They only shot. They never finished it. I only shot 45 minutes of it.
Oh wow!
But yeah. So anyway, but I do have other projects that I do sell when I go to horror conventions. People think I have a little store, which I kind of do. So if anybody's interested in any of the things besides the book before the web page comes out, just chat with me on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
There's several pictures, but the picture you want right now is a picture of me holding up a picture of Captain Howdy. And the only thing I warn you guys, people decide they're just going to pretend they want to buy something because they want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you do that, you're going to get blocked. If you're totally interested, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you some prices, and you come right back and say, "Gee, I can't do that right now. Maybe in the future." That's fine. But some people just engage you in a conversation, like, "How big is the statue? What does it look like? What else? You know what I mean?"
Okay.
And there's 4 or 5 chats. So don't do that. I think me and a lot of people really ask people to respect your chats.
Mm-hmm.
My chats are really only for family members, very close friends, and people who want to buy something. They're not just for fans. If you want to talk to me as a fan, then do a notification, do a news feed. That's fine. And I don't use my fan pages because I like it being interactive. I like to be able to answer people. But just don't abuse the chat thing. And a lot of people feel that, and they just close their chat room or never open it.
Well, you know what?
That's my commercial, and that's my advice.
Well,
I am going to get off the phone now because my husband is probably going to be home now. He actually is the cook in the family, except when he's working all day, and so I should do something about dinner.
Well, you know what? I might hit you up on that book. It sounds like a terrific read. Before you go, would you mind doing...
Send me your address and do a PayPal thing.
Sure.
And, I will send it to you promptly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Could I get you to do a plug for my show before we close off?
Hi, this is Pazuzu from your favorite horror film, The Exorcist. Yes, The Exorcist. So listen to Python's Paradise New Brunswick, Canada. Or I might just have to come after you. Beware.
Thank you so much, Eileen, for giving me the honor to having you as a guest today.
It was truly my pleasure.
Yes, I'll be in touch, and
I will.
look.
I will get in touch with you if I have like another film I'm doing or something that I want to promote.
Oh, absolutely. I'd gladly have you back on.
Okay, now do you want these 3 people, if they want to do it, to get in touch with you? Because I can't say to get in touch with you and then say, oh, I don't know. So
Sure.
I'll talk about that privately, okay?
Sure, go ahead. Sure, put them in touch with me. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
And okay, and you have a picture you want to use with this, right?
Sure, I'll find something. You
What, do you want me to send you something?
Sure, why not?
Okay, probably on Wednesday, right?
Sure, no problem.
Okie dokie. Well, you have a nice evening, and I will talk to you later.
Absolutely. God bless, and you take care.
Thank you, and bless you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yep, bye-bye.